Good morning, everyone, and welcome to one other Saturday live session. In today's session, we are starting a new segment called AI Uncensored, where we will connect with industry experts who will walk us through on use cases and the journey in this space. If you have any questions to ask our guests, do post it in the chat. On to our guest now. Today we have with us Indrajit Kar. Indrajit is a chief architect and head of advanced analytics and AI in Siemens. He is also a proud owner of 6 patents ranging from natural language processing, computer vision, and adversarial deep learning. He has been analytics domain for 15 plus years, now spanning across machine learning, data science, industrial IoT, and has led multiple digital transformation. Indrajit, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Srini, for having me. And it's a pleasure being in front of all of you, and share whatever small knowledge I have. And thank you again.
Yeah, thank you again, Indrajit, and thank you for accepting the invite to come and talk in this show. I know, I did not do much justice in my introduction to your fascinating career in data science. You have been in the data science place for so long, even before all the buzzwords and everything came around, right? Why don't you tell us about yourself and also talk on your journey into the data science space?
Absolutely sure. So, see, when people used to say data science now, when people now say data science, I always think about stats. That because I am back as stats guy. And I'll tell you, to start my journey in stats, how did I start? And it was one of my subjects rather. So, and I was keen because what happened was we were given a task. The first stat task was we had two pumps, and we had to go ahead and measure the performance of those two pumps. So that was one of the first statistics task that was given to us. And from pumps now to drones. So that's how my journey has been. And I started with while I was doing my masters, I was also working. It was a part-time job that I had taken up that time. And because I wanted to feel how it is when it comes to industry, and because we were always into academia, and I was not into those writing papers and doing a lot of research. So I did not pursue my after masters, I did not pursue my postdoctorate. And then I stopped, and I thought this is the best time that I move into industry and see all the good work that has been done in the research, how to take that and start implementing in real life. Because there should be somebody to go ahead and implement it, all the good work that has been done or that is still going on, because academia is far ahead of us. So what happened was I joined Hewlett Packard as full-time job, and from there I got into product analytics, and as well as understanding customer analytics, sales revenue optimization. So those kind of projects I got into. I moved into another company where after 4.5 years, I moved into another company which was like a sister concern of Infinite Data Systems, and I was part of retail. So for 3 years, I was in that retail domain, doing a lot of marketing analytics, sales. There, where I got an exposure to work with one of their clients who had energy, who worked in energy business. So there were like this oil and gas pipelines running. The challenge that was thrown to us was to go ahead and do various use cases. I'll tell you one of the interesting use case. One of the interesting use case was this guy uses credit card on the petrol pump, and everybody comes and the credit cards gets stuck. Can we predict the probability of a credit card getting stuck? So that it is not under NDA, that's why I'm able to say. And it was a very interesting project for us. Lot of things that I learned shifting from this actual data science, core data science, where marketing, sales, this thing, to moving into a complete different domain. From there, I moved into a server analytics side, where we were trying to understand, the carbon emission in a data center, the performance of servers when the server needs to have maintenance. So that kind of it was not a predictive maintenance, I would say. It was rule based predictive maintenance. Those kind of rule based algorithms we stood on and do kind of a predictive maintenance. So from that was like 6 months with Fujitsu. And then I got to know a lot of side, I would say, side technologies like VMware. Then I came to know about cloud. I came to know a lot of things which are not data science oriented. So these were very interesting for me. How they rack and stack servers, how the servers are connected, networking, very interesting things I learned. I moved out from there and I joined a couple of companies. The one being Siemens, Healthineer, and then I moved into IBM, Accenture being a biggest contributor in a couple of successes that I have done, and finally I am in Siemens Advanta. So that's how my journey is.
Okay, it's interesting, right? When you said that you are not into more like writing papers and research and all, and in spite of that, you have 6 patents
Right.
that you have submitted, and that also in like natural language processing, computer vision, and all, and that requires a lot of research process when you get into the patent filing and everything, right? Can you talk
Right.
about that journey?
Absolutely. So this is very unique. So what we do is when we used to do is not research. These were like actual projects. We take up actual projects. We try to do in a different way. Let's say I am running probably it can be solved using some X and Y algorithm, which is okay. But can I look into a different way of doing it? Uh, in that way we come up with new ways of doing it. So that's actual innovation on the go. Then we fall back and say, hey, can this be patented? Can this be given to my company, and can my company leverage it, or can the client leverage it? Then it goes to a research area. We start researching more on it, optimize what we have got it. And that's why I for around 1 year ish, I was into this dual role where doing a research for a COE, as well as the same research we have to implement actual show that the work works. When we call about patents, I was going through one of the patent scam what do you call video on Netflix, or not a series. It was very interesting how horrible those patents were. So here we actually do real work, try to do something, then see if it works and see it gets benefit, and then go ahead and patent it. So that's the policy that I have been working on, and a lot of my previous employers have I've learned that from my previous employers, my managers. So a lot of things they have given me in kind of guiding me how we should really approach the real time patents. So that's about the patents.
Got it, got it. No, no. If you see, right, you have been in this industry for so long, and I have a similar journey. I've been like in this industry for so long, starting from data engineering and everything, right? The if you see the product space and all the surrounding ecosystem that supports machine learning has matured a lot today. You have ML ops, you have data hubs, you have a lot of augmented analytics. The products are really making our life easy and self-service. But in spite of all the buzz today in this space, right? When it comes to success story in enterprise, only a handful of projects really make it to production, and there's a huge investment that goes on in production, hypothesis, experimentation, but the last mile challenge of putting it into production and really generating value is not I would say like 50-60% of the projects do not make it over there. And it's just like my numbers, I don't have anything to base on, it's based on my experience, right? Now, what are the pain points are you seeing today that is delaying the process of productionizing AI and ML?
Absolutely. See, when it comes to productionalizing AI and ML, especially, I'll keep the data science part aside. The reason being, every project is not an AI ML project. So that is the first thing people has to understand, that when I have a use case, probably I can do a Excel visualization and I can solve it. It need not even go to AI/ML. When I start force fitting AI/ML is when the problem starts. Second thing is, see, I mean, you everybody talks about it, domain knowledge. When we develop this AI/ML solution, first of all, there are various companies which actually has to focus on the domain knowledge, like get the domain knowledge, get the domain expert, and then try to use their domain knowledge, because it's very important when you are trying to productionalize it. Whom are we going ahead and developing these solutions for? I will take some time because to discuss this, because it's a very interesting thing. See, couple of other things which are really giving hindrance to this kind of productionalization. One, not efficiently using MLOps is one of the major challenge, that not everybody using MLOps. I have experience where we had struggled a lot deploying our ML models on to a custom based environment, which is highly secured. Especially you are in banking, you know how difficult it is to just to put it in a production environment. So many tests, so many approvals. So it's not just develop something and put it on Kaggle. It's not like that, right? It goes through so many approvals. That delays the process, and during that process, the reason why it was built goes off. If you see, you develop something for 6 months and you're targeting a particular customer segment, let's say that vanished, suddenly that requirement vanished. So what is the point of putting it? The project gets shelved. So that's one of the reason. There are other various reasons, the communication. When I am going and speaking to the client and talking about that, hey, there is a project, this is the solution, then there is something called understanding of the solution. Whom are we building this for? The teams who are sitting and developing, we as a data scientists, we as machine learning engineers, we as a vision experts, do we really know who is going to use it for? Another example I will give, or a situation is, we developed a model, everything passed, approved, deployed in production. The people who were using it doesn't want to use. What will you do? They don't want to use your algorithm, they don't want to use your app, they don't want to use it. So this is one of the challenge that everybody will face, that you develop something for people, they don't use it. It's not production. So what people have to do? We have to shelve it. So that's couple of the things. Then involving experts, when you have experts who knows the subject, involving them during the process is very important. And we have meetings in silos. We have a lot of conflicts among ourselves in the team. So that's as you say, it's AI uncensored session. So we have a lot of conflicts. We see that, hey, this person is good. No, I have an ego conflict with this person. I don't want to take his solution, but ideally probably that solution would have helped, right? So that's one of the things. Another thing that I have also seen, Agile, it helps. I am not talking full blown Agile. I'm not talking about that. But let's say when I say definition of ready, there is something called a DOR and DOD. Now, when we say DOR, when it's definition of ready, what does it mean? Am I ready to develop a model? I'm now talking about AI ML. Am I ready to develop a model? Do I have everything necessary to develop the model, or just I'm jumping on it? So in Agile, you will see something called a definition of ready for every sprint. Mm-hmm. So is that there? Then definition of done. When I say I'm done, this model is ready. Is it really ready? What is the definition of done? So these kind of things really helps in productionalizing. And apart from that, from technology perspective, there are so many technologies. Which one to choose is one of the biggest challenge that I would say stakeholders who are product owners, who are giving that money out, they have a problem that which technology to choose, where to put. Shall I choose MongoDB versus SQL? What shall I choose? So that kind of situation comes in, and that including all this, it starts it doesn't get into a production, because finally it gets delayed and it gets shelved. So this is one of the major reasons that I've seen. Rather, these are the reasons that I have seen, and there are many. And probably you might want to add something, but there are many.
Right. And couple of points are like pretty interesting because I have also seen, right, like one of the
Right.
project that we built, it took us around 3 to 4 months to really build we and in this case we had all the data in place, everything in place. The model took around 3 to 4 months. We had a pretty good model which we were ready to deploy, but it took us 9 months to really deploy it. And the reason is simple, right? Like when you start deploying it, you are dealing, yeah, especially in the banking space, you are dealing with legacy systems. And we had
Yes.
to take this model and integrate with mainframe, right? We
Mainframe.
had a pretty good, strong Python environment model. We had XGBoost model and everything. We had to take this and put it in and mainframe flow, right? And mainframe, either we need to take all the learned XGBoost tree structures and write a mainframe specific COBOL program or something like that, or we have to run JVM, or we have to integrate distributed system with mainframe. And that took us a lot of time because
Abs-
we are talking about here also like how real time it needs to be, right? When
Yeah.
you talk about real time, you have to move closer to where your system of records or system of integration is. And that has really been like a challenge, but we learned from it. We try the one of the thing that I see lacking, at least with most of the AI leaders, is they build it but they don't try to build it so that it can be replicated, right? When you're
Exactly.
building some
Yeah.
capability, when you're building some solution, okay, I have built one off model, I have deployed it, but build the underlying capability where you can come and add more models, more insight, because the model is not permanent, right? Yeah.
Absolutely.
Your model can get drifted, your model can get deteriorated as soon
Correct.
as you put into production,
Correct.
right?
Correct.
So you need to build capability where you can deploy multiple models, do champion challenge analysis, do A/B testing on the model, and all this aspect that comes into play. That's what I have seen.
We are in a hurry to go ahead and deploy something and let it work, but it's a real slow process. It's incremental growth that people will definitely get if they, as you rightly said, if they do these steps that you mentioned.
Right. Let's go back to some questions from the viewers over here. I see like hi from Makaran, and Makaran Pandey has a question, right?
Hi,
Data,
Makran.
hey Makaran, data science is a large field. What about people who have deep experience in one field like NLP, but encounter things like logistic regression? What is the best approach?
Absolutely. So your question is, what about the people who are in deep, we have deep experience in a field in NLP? Okay, so this is a very good question. The reason being, let's see. Now, first thing we need to understand is, are you talking about shifting the fields? Is that your goal, or you want to learn both NLP and logistic regression together? So basically, our models doesn't change, right? You still go ahead and do logistic regression for your NLP as well. So, taking that aside, if I take NLP as a domain, so what kind of knowledge that you require is a linguist knowledge. Now, when you say logistic regression, if you are talking about basically a numeric data, what kind of knowledge you required is kind of I will say stats, maths, that kind of knowledge. Now, it is indeed a large field, and that's how you leverage from every field, and that's how you learn, that's how you grow. So I mean that's one of the best thing that I would say.
Yeah. And today, like data science or AI machine learning is spread across multiple segments. Some are good in computer vision, some are good in NLP. The foundation aspects are kind of the vertical capability, right? And all this NLP, computer vision, or even advanced model that keep coming. Like the researchers are accelerating very fast. At the same time, like only 5% of the research really make it to production and reality, right? So I would say like the horizontal capability are pretty key, be it logistic regression or something like that. And if you take from logistic regression, right, I give this analogy very much. Like you take neural networks. Neural networks are nothing but a bunch of logistic layer assigned together with some nonlinear activation function. So the underlying principles are still same. We just make it complex and kind of we try to build new things and that can learn more insights or deep knowledge on our data. That's what we
Absolutely.
see.
And
Right. sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, and also what you can do is you can use in multimodal data fusion. So let's say you can these are multiple modes: a numeric mode, an NLP mode, a computer vision mode, or a CV mode. So you can get that in one space and try to predict something that in you can go in that area as well if you are trying to do a lot of things. That's one of the biggest area when it comes to manufacturing domain, when it comes to healthcare domain. This multimodal data fusion and then going ahead and predicting is of great value these days.
Right. And multimodal is even common for deep learning as well, right? Like if you see,
Absolutely.
today we need system that can see, that can hear, that can react, that can understand, right? And all needs to come together. And we had a session from Ram on AI trends, and multimodal learning was one of the AI trends that he spoke about as well. And Rajdeep, I want to like maybe elaborate on the question. I did not get why do we need to reinvent the wheel. I will wait for you to elaborate the question. I have a question from Induraj. He says, "How do you see PyTorch framework's role compared to Keras on TensorFlow?" This topic I
Okay.
like very much. Yeah.
So this is, I think, you know what? Again, no bad feelings to TensorFlow and Keras, but I don't know. Somehow, even I fell for this. I'll give you an example. I was developing. I mean, I still develop. So I still go ahead and touch the code and see. And my team says, "Why are you doing it? You are trying to take our job." No, I'm not trying to take it. I'm just trying to be update myself so that you don't take my job. So that's how it is. So I just love the way PyTorch is, to be very frank. And again, Keras is very good. My son is in class 5. He uses Keras and TensorFlow for very easy for people to learn. So I would not really go ahead and compare, but PyTorch is a different level. TensorFlow, absolutely, TensorFlow is good, but Keras is very good for starters, and then you can develop by yourself. So I don't see a comparison, but I fell for PyTorch. That's what I would say.
Got it, got it. And I have used TensorFlow for quite long, right? I have been more than an early user of TensorFlow. I have used the graph directly without any neural network to really automate some of the mathematical functions on GPUs. It's a very nice framework. I've been using it, but the only problem is every update is making the previous one unstable. And if the TensorFlow is listening to it, it is very important, right? Now, I have something developed on TensorFlow 2.2 and I run it on 2.3. That function is gone. They have rearranged the package. They
Right.
have to kind of stop at some time because they did from 1 to 2, and it's understandable. But they cannot do it in every 2.1, 2.2, 2.10. That's the reason, if you see even the Google Trends, PyTorch and TensorFlow are almost together today. I have not used PyTorch, but if you, based on people using it and the trends, it looks like both are there. I have seen like TensorFlow live in production, running in a more distributed way. I have not tried PyTorch, but my next thing is to try PyTorch and see how it is.
Yeah.
What is the future of SQL? SQL always has a future, but we will hear from you.
Future, I mean, if it's like, if I see there is a new Matrix movie coming, right? So it's kind of a Matrix movie which never dies. It will never go. So the future is always bright. It's SQL. It will never go. Huge future, and there has been a past. But yeah, when there is the challenges when we do this unstructured data and try to put, like when I compare MongoDB, it was very difficult for us to develop a NLP model which was kind of in a distributed way and put it in a SQL server, leverage SQL, and versus a MongoDB. When we started working with the MongoDB, things were very easy. The developers felt it. So I think that's the difference. But SQL has a very bright future. So there is nothing to say, nothing to mention rather. Now over to you, Sri.
Yeah, and if you really see SQL, right, it has been the go-to tool for any data analyst, business. The adoption is more. A lot of data engineering, even though it started with all the MapReduce framework and everything. Today, if you see with BigQuery and Snowflake, which are able to handle petabytes of data, we are still moving into the SQL world. So
Yeah.
SQL is evergreen. Definitely a must skill, I would say. Anybody, even be let him be a machine learning engineer or let him be a data engineer or data analyst. SQL is pretty key. I have been running some sessions on SQL ML, like BigQuery ML, which is
Yes, I saw
Google's
that.
product. Supports like building machine learning models on SQL. It may not be perfect today,
Right.
but see, everything is a beginning, and the product mature as we go. More flexibility comes in. So SQL is definitely a must-have skill for anyone, right? The
Yeah,
next,
absolutely. And for financial people, Srini, there is a requirement these days that's coming up. They should know how to extract at least from SQL databases, because these financial systems are quite legacy, and they are mostly on this SQL servers, the data that resides on SQL. So there is a requirement that financial people should be at least able to run that SQL query and gather the data. Now I'm talking about operators, not our financial analysts and all. I'm talking about basic operators.
right,
It's for them, it's a requirement these days.
right.
It has a future, definitely.
Right. And when I do my interview, because I work with financial customers, and when I do interview for, definitely there are questions on SQL because we do lot and lot of SQL work. Sometimes, like our analysis cycle is done with SQL itself. We can write complex SQL and do everything rather than writing tons of Python code, right?
Absolutely.
And we can use reporting tool for good and fast visualization. And then once we want to get into the detail of it, maybe we can go and get our hand dirty with Python, right?
Absolutely.
So. Next is from Nikhil. Nikhil is asking like, what would be your advice for people who are getting formal education like masters in analytics, but not currently working in the field, or how to enter into this field?
Right. See, so you're doing masters, very good, and masters in I think education masters in analytics, like, yeah. So it's very good. It's very good that you're doing it. But my advice would be, try to go ahead and see what is happening in the industry right now. What is the demand in the industry? And there are a lot of people, they are posting, especially, I'll tell you, I understand these days job description are weird, they want everything on their things. But there are some job descriptions that are very specific. So let's say you're doing masters in business analytics. So look, first of all, connect with the people who are already in that field. They will tell you what are the usual projects that you get. Secondly, get your hands dirty. Get your hands dirty by going into open source data sets like Kaggle, like, other open source platforms. Get your hands dirty. Try to develop something by your own, what you have, apart from what you have done in your masters. Now, here is something that you need to do. Uh, you are doing from Kaggle, you run a code which is there in the Kaggle, you learn very good. What you need to do, come up with the innovation. Try to do in a better way. Going back to multimodal, Makran's question, if you are, let's say, working on a numeric data, can you merge NLP data and try to come up with something? And that's why you learn innovation. How to get into the field? I struggled a lot, because it was I was more of a stats guy, so I struggled a lot in getting a job. And it's be consistent. Be consistent. Don't give up hope. If the job that is there for you will click, so don't worry about it. And apart from that, these are the things that you can do. Lots of hands-on, lots of business understanding, lots of masters is again academia, lots of I would say hand-on things I have already said. These are the things that you can do to go ahead into a field. Build your connections. Build your connections. Probably people are posting already, and there are people who have not done anything. All this, they just build the connection and got a job. Trust me, that happens. As it's AI uncensored, so I keep saying that again. And over to you, Srini. What's your tips on this?
Right. And I would say like build a portfolio also, right? Like I know we have been playing with Kaggle data. We have been today we have a lot of data set, right? Now we can take any data set and play around, but try to correlate things, right? If you can correlate, say like the existing forecasting problem with the data set is available, with the COVID data set, or see like how it behaved. And if you can tell a complete story, not only just run some algorithm and model and show the accuracy, right? Start with your business problem definition, Start with your understanding of data, your insight cycle, and then communication. So put your GitHub repo with this end-to-end process. The more better you make it, and you have your GitHub profile with your resume, that will definitely stand out. uh, the one problem that I see is today, right? The supply is pretty higher than the demand.
Absolutely.
And the only thing that can make you stand out is your unique portfolio and your way of interacting with people, communicating with industry folks, getting their knowledge. Or even you can go to Google Scholars search. That search has a lot of paper. Like if you're going to an interview for, say, like fraud detection in a banking space or in any retail space, you can go and search in that Google Scholars website. You get a lot of papers and methods and methodology and details where you can go and enhance your knowledge.
Right.
This is a similar question from Deepesh. I think you have answered most of it. If you can add on few skills that are
Yeah.
required for entry level data science job, that would be great.
Yeah. So see, the thing is, let me give you this, that data science started in class 5, 6, to be very frank. So being there, you did not even know would you be a CS or a non-CS student. So you can definitely get into that field. So now let me talk that, see, there are two fields. One is an applied, one is a research. So I shifted from that research to applied. So what you need for the applied, and if you are a non-CS person, is to go ahead and understand what these things are doing. Now, not only algorithms, not only algorithms. When I say data science, is not only algorithms, it can be an Excel these days are very powerful. So if you learn Excel properly, probably you can develop something on the Excel which looks very visually very attractive, and it recommends. Now that is the things that I understand. Not every CS non-CS student will be very good in coding, right? So, but coding is easy. Coding is very easy. Spend your time, give lot of effort to the goal. Set a goal that this is my goal, and I'm going to, whatever it is, I'm going to achieve it. That self confidence should be there. And as I said, it started long back in class 5, class 6. That's where data science started. So it's just, as I think Shini mentioned it very well, that some alien named it data science. I really like that. So that's how it is. It started, it's a way back, it's way back. So you can definitely get into it. Nobody is going to stop it. Math, science, stats, and the other high end algebra, you can do it, but this starts with this maths. A little bit of maths is required. You will be able, it will be easier for you to understand, but it not necessary for applied, because we know the use case. We have PyTorch, Keras, or TensorFlow, doesn't matter. We go ahead and do it, or we have Excel, just visualize and do it. So that's what I would say.
Right. And I think you said it all, Indrajit, right? I used to say, be curious with data. So build skills around how you can handle data, how you can generate insights. A typical example and tribute to Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose, whose 125th birthday is today. The famous dialogue he said, give me blood, I will give you freedom. I would say, like, give me data, I will give you insights. That's what I tell my business also, because sometimes we don't get data at all. And
Yeah,
that's a huge
right.
delay in getting the data. And that's what I used to say, like, once you give me data, I will show you what it can do. So be curious with your data and start playing around with data.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So my
The
question: how do
next
you
question is from
perceive the role
Kaustu.
of ethics in data science? Okay. Ethics, yeah, absolutely. Now, the ethics comes from a couple of areas. See, I'll tell you that when you are developing an algorithm, the algorithm is not working fine. It's being a data science or data scientist, or being a responsible employee of an organization, you should report it out that it's not working properly. Don't be afraid in telling that. That also comes under ethics. Secondly, building the models. Okay, let's shift a gear, not data science. Let's talk about AI ML a little. Building an ethical AI ML model is very important, and there are a lot of things going around for AI in ethics, ethics in AI. There are a lot of things that's going around. The first thing is building that model, because you are going to be the person who is going to decide how to, let's say you're involved in labeling, so you understand how it is important for you to do the labeling, and for that you need to have domain knowledge. So it's all related, domain knowledge, ethics, because one thing about having this right way of developing ML models, ethical ML model, lots of it comes into having transparency also. So transparency also is a part of this AI ethics, how ethically I am building and how transparent I am. So I'll stop here and I'll tell Srini to take
Yeah.
this on.
And I think you covered all. I would say like the very first thing is when we are getting into building some AI ML solution, right? That start with the data, because lot of this biases and everything can peep in from data. If your data is not like balanced, then by default like you will end up in a downstream impact, and that's when you go with post model visualization or post model analysis and everything, right? So the ethics part has to start with data and all the way to your end of the life cycle. So the more you handle upfront, the more you handle with simple techniques and all, you don't have to be worry about it, because you know like what is the population you are serving. That's the only thing I would like to add in that, right? We have a lot of questions on data engineering. I think like let's rush a little, because I see a lot of questions coming in. We have question on data engineering. There are a couple of questions on data engineering. We can take it together. One is,
Yeah.
how can college undergrad like me build a portfolio for becoming a data engineer and grab a role as fresher? That's from Ayush. Naushad, I have data engineering skills and I want to explore data science domain. Do you think data engineering skills will help me? Because data science skills are a bit different from data engineering, right? Maybe you can get started and I
Yeah.
can add on to both of
Sure,
us.
sure. See, this is where we as leaders of AI ML should also help, is what I understand. I always believe that we should invest in people. Now, I have my data engineering team, I had my data engineering team. They were very keen in understanding what is data science. So I did this kind of a thing, that start sitting with pair programming. How do we do a pair programming in this data science? A data engineer sits with a data scientist, see what is working, and tries to learn. So that's not exactly a pair programming, but that's a learning field. Now that is on the job. You learn on the job, and your leaders have to enable that. Give opportunity to people, empower them is what is required. And so for now, to answer your question, that if I am a college grad, college grads are doing wonders these days, trust me. And I am very unlucky that I am not born at this age, but there are so many information available, and there are so many things that you guys are doing. So how do you build your profile? I think we just covered it few 10 15 minutes back. How do you actually work and build your profile? Put it a little way, that let's say I have somebody has done logistic regression, or let's say linear regression. Can I do a median regression and show how is the out? I think that's what Srini covered. Do it a little differently and build your portfolio. Market yourself, put yourself on LinkedIn, keep posting. Doesn't matter how many people liked your your work. Doesn't matter. It will get liked. Eventually it will get liked, you will get visible, and get your visibility. That's one of the marketing. Yourself will have to be there. You have to market. There is no other option. You cannot be in a silo sitting and developing code. It cannot work like that. In this world, you have to market.
Got it. And I would like to add specifically to Hayush and Naushad's thing, right? Specifically on data engineering. I know like data science, there are a lot of things about portfolio. I would say like a data engineer are twofolds. One is need to know the tools, you need to know cloud, right? Because a lot of data engineering today is happening on cloud. So from the tools, I would say focus a lot on Spark, because Spark runs in all the platform. It runs on premise, it runs cloud, all the clouds. It has Databricks as their own platform, and a lot of tools have embedded Spark into their process. Right, so build your portfolio surrounding Spark. It can be on data cleaning, it can be on advanced analytics. See, when we see data science is also advanced analytics. And advanced analytics, I have built data engineering project which does not have any coding of algorithms. It is
Yes.
algorithms baked into Spark pipelines.
Right.
It can be customer segmentation, or it can be finding the customer lifetime value. All these are just formulas and calculation that we use. So try to pick up a problem and build that. And specifically coming to Mohammed, how you can transition from data science, from data engineering to data science. uh, 80% of typical data science project or machine learning project is data analysis, data engineering, right, and model deployment. If you take the algorithm part, actually, like, you can automate a lot of algorithm stuff today with all the auto ML frameworks and everything. So it's easy for, I will not say it's easy for you to transition. First is the math background. Yes, if you are starting with math, then learn some amount of linear algebra and statistics, and then the algorithm transition should be easy as you work with more and more packages and tools. But once you know the underlying math, you can do wonders. So there is some process involved to transition, but it's not that difficult. It may take 6 to 7 months or more than that, depending on how much time you can spend, but it's possible.
So
That's
let me ask, I mean, Mohammed, whoever questioned it, do you really want to get into from data engineering to data science? Because trust me, data science sometimes can be boring. Where I see data engineering is quite, you deal with a lot of technology. Do you really want to do the same algorithm again and again? Ask yourself, do you really want to do that?
Yeah, and I would agree. Like when I was in data engineering, right? We used to deal with a lot of sources. We used to get data in episodic format, data in unstructured data, and everything. Working on creating a schema and how the schema evolves over time. There are a lot of engineering aspect, which is plenty exciting. I moved out. The reason is maybe I did too much of engineering. I want to try something out, and it was a gradual transition. But yes, data engineering is an exciting field, and pays the same amount of money as data scientist or the ML engineer as well, is what I have seen, frankly. Uh, Let me see what can in real time where ML solution should be agile. Uh,
Whether the ML solution should be agile. Yes, I was talking to regarding this that see, it's difficult. ML, it's an iterative process, and it's kind of difficult. But if not completely agile, inherit some of the good things that agile has in the process. And if you mean to say agile, that ML solution itself has to be agile. ML solutions are very agile. They are very fast. To be very frank, if you put in the right if you give it a right computation power. So, but to answer your agile as the methodology agile, why not go ahead and like DODs, DORs, have sprint, have those kind of stand-ups, understand what has been done. So that's definitely can be done if that's what you mean by agile.
Yeah, and like I can also talk about my experience on how we use agile in data science, right? I know like data science is more experimentation when it comes to AI ML, and it's not that you can show outcome periodically. But agile is actually not about like delivering something in a sprint, right? You
Right.
can use Atmos sprint, but what happens when you take an ML AI project? You have a lot of dependency with external team. You may be collecting data from three different sources. You have to integrate with your business process, and you also need to show your progress. So if you have some dependency, agile is a good way of telling, okay, I am dependent on this. Until I don't get this part, I cannot get it, rather than waiting for 3 months and telling, okay, I have a model which is 80% accurate or 85% accurate. And maybe that is what not the business wanted. They want to see some other metric. So by periodically doing a show and tell of what you have, telling your dependencies and everything, you capture it very well in agile. You can move your experimentation outcome sprint by sprint by sprint. There is nobody stopping you from that, and that's where like Kanban and everything also comes into play. So definitely it can be done. And I see a lot of questions from Bharat Chandar. The same thing. Pre-COVID data will be forecasting different travel outcome for 2021, and if you use timeline during COVID, will be different and vice versa. Can you please share how we can design the model to handle external scenarios?
So is the question related to COVID,
Yeah,
Srinu?
I think the question is like we have forecasting models, and in the forecasting models, typically like we have pre-COVID sales, which are pretty good, but a lot of industry are affected by COVID data, right? And how do we kind of design the model to handle external scenarios? So this is actually like there are a lot of factors that comes into play when we talk about COVID, right? Whether that particular industry you are dealing with has a V-shaped recovery. When I say V-shaped recovery, it has come down, and during the time frame, it has gone up to the previous level, or it's a W-shaped recovery. So it has come down, it has slightly gone up, again come down, gone up. So some industry are heavily affected, right? Like the retail stores and everything have been closed and everything, but the online retailers are doing good. The travel has been affected, but some industry are picking back stream up, not to the previous level. So this actually requires a lot of domain on uh, how your future recovery is going to be. That is one part of it. Something which we do to handle is called intervention analysis. So we see
Yes.
pre-COVID
Yes.
effect and post-COVID effect, and we
Right.
kind of try to see like how we can underweight the COVID data. So it's a long subject by itself. You can
Long.
go ahead, Vijay. I was
Yeah,
just
that's
talking.
right.
So you can, if you have something, you can add. But that's what we typically do. I think like it will take a lot of time to cover that. Maybe I'll have
It's
separate
a huge
video on.
area by itself, as you rightly said. So yeah, that's a very good. And to tell you, a lot of people have not waded in this kind of situation. This is some kind of a this is called a black swan scenario. So this black swans, this COVID is nothing but a black swan scenario. So this kind of situation where what is, let me explain a little on this black swan. It's kind of an outlier in the sense my behavior during COVID changes compared to my behavior what was pre-COVID. So, and if you plot, it becomes a huge outlier, and that's kind of a black swan situation. That I think you also in insurance we use it a lot, like sudden storm has hit the place. How to go ahead and determine that? So as you rightly said, it's a huge field. Probably we can connect and have a separate discussion on it altogether.
Alright. Uh, the next question is from Ravi. Is knowledge of advanced research important for doing well in data science field?
Yeah, so research and applied are two different fields for the basically for the same goal. What you can, if what will help you to do, it's important or not important, it based on subject. What I usually encourage my team to do is I have not written much papers, so they can always go ahead and write papers during their when they are doing delivering for the client or the customer or the partners. They can also do this in a self research kind of a thing, and there are a lot of connections which Srini and I have also. They have done it. They are doing research by themselves. Important or not important, very subjective, I would say.
And I would agree with that, right? Like now, I would say getting into the data science field, learn the see like world's 80% of data is still structured, and that is what is used in really deriving value. So learn the foundational aspects of it that is there, and pick one horizontal capability like either natural language processing or computer vision, and try to learn as much as possible. Right? Even so, we say like transformers and everything. LSTM is what is majorly used, and it has been there for almost 10 years now. So the advanced techniques will get productized. Like if you take computer vision today, I can solve a lot of things with transfer learning. 80% of the problem, 85% of the problem, a transfer learning can solve for me. So
And
research is,
moreover, just
yeah.
to add to your point, not only even let not go transfer learning. We can telling just use OpenCV, Hog, Shift. If you use them properly, these are come feature extraction algorithm with your statistical models like SVM or classical models, which for a small data sets you can definitely go ahead and hands on. Just go and see how OpenCV can be used to leverage a lot of heavy end work on computer vision.
Right. I think like we have a lot of questions coming in. Let's just try to cover as much as possible in the group. For DS role, it is expected that you should have practical experience on dealing with big data. Isn't this an added pressure on us that we have to prepare for data scientist as well as data engineer? It's a very valid question. And with the new terminology called full stack data scientist, I don't know what it means. I really know what it means, but
Absolutely.
pretty good questions as well. Go ahead.
No, I mean, this full stack data scientist is something that makes me laugh always. So, whatever Shashwat just said, yeah, it is. See, this is where you need to understand during interview. Ask the interviewer, what are you looking for? Are you looking for a big data kind of data scientist, or are you looking for a numeric data? The numeric data can also be a big data, that is different, but are you looking for this numerical data where I do statistical analytics and I do basic model building? Is that the role that you are looking for? Then go ahead and go take the job. I'll tell you, one of my friend, he joined one of the reputed companies, and within 3 months he left. 3 months he left, and he is another into another big, very big company. And so the problem is the same what Shashwat explained. Suddenly the data changed. This guy has no clues how to deal with it. Okay, and if you still want to stick to it, open a book, study. Probably there are knowledge that people have shared. There are a lot of books that people are sharing on LinkedIn, and they're sharing open source books are available. Read them, see if you're able to do it or not. Simple, that one. Yes, definitely I agree, it's a lot of pressure.
Yeah, it's a pressure. So one thing, Saswat, like if you want to learn in a very simple way, I have a free course on YouTube called Apache Spark for Applied Data Scientist. Right? You can follow it. It will be similar to Pandas. So your transition will be easy. Is what I'm telling. I'm not telling you need it or no, but some of the companies really deal with big data, right? And your algorithms that you use has to be scalable, distributable, and everything. At that time, maybe scikit may not work. So it's good to know, but I'm not telling you need to know, because sometimes you can start your insight cycle with small data and then gradually move on, but if you find any conclusive outcome. Right, so that we can do as well. Deepesh has a question like, what is the entry level requirement for service based, product based company?
Okay, so trust me, there is no requirement as such. The requirement is again horizontal. Whatever the service based company wants, the product based company wants the same as well. However, there is something called a domain knowledge that is required. And what kind of domain knowledge? I'll tell you. Let's say if you are in a healthcare domain, you need to understand the nitty gritties of a healthcare. Example, you cannot simply extract a data and start building a model. There is something called encryption is there, PHI information is there. So when we do the interview from a product based for a product based company, what we usually see, how much domain knowledge this person has. Usually an entry level job will not have domain knowledge until unless the person gets inside. So if somebody is really asking for a domain knowledge in an entry level job, for a product based company is looking for the wrong person. When it comes to experienced person, he needs to answer your question, it's basic same questions. What are the assumptions of regression? What is regression? How it is computer vision? What are the what how the model overfit is the same thing. Is the same thing. There's no difference.
Yeah. I will move a couple of things. Like I think Keshav has a follow-up question on, do we need to have strict laws? Maybe I will answer some of this and move on to
Yep.
we will. So there are, Keshav, like if you see some industry do have laws already, and it has been there. If you take like banking, there is an Fair Act lending rule, and there is like a lot of discriminatory laws which they follow. Right now, making it a global thing is like a big effort. And I don't know, like, do we have, maybe the industry will be there in 10 years or 12 years, but I feel like every organization by themselves should have laws that make sure that the customer is not impacted, or
Yes.
they are not kind of running their models in a process that is not governed. For some of the use case it's fine, but in a lot of cases they need to have an internal process that is set, it needs to be set in place as well. Right. I think like tools are day by day. Some use Hadoop ecosystem. I would say Apache Spark and cloud-based services are. more than enough to start with. When I say cloud-based services, cloud and the native services, like if you go to Amazon, you have Redshift. If you go to BigQuery, if you go to Google, you have BigQuery. So learn that, learn Apache Spark, and then as you go into your project, if it requires streaming, you can decide whether you want Spark streaming or Flink or Dataflow or whatever it's there, uh, depending on that, right? This is a question from
Yeah.
Ajit Indrajit, right? I would like
Yes.
to understand on deployment strategy and tools or framework for easy deployment, specifically cloud. Let's say we build an NLP model we want to use in production for the user input.
Yeah, absolutely. See, first of all, I will tell you what are the challenges you will see here. When you, let's say, you are build an NLP model, your job is done. Now, I'll tell you what happened is the developer that I had, he had never worked on ML projects. I took in from another project because we needed a full stack developer, not a data scientist. So we needed a full stack developer, and he was unaware that the pre-processing of a NL of a text has to be a separate. We usually use a separate kind of a function. The data comes in, it goes through that function, then hits our model. So that's what we wanted to do. What happened, he did not create a function of it, and he directly created a model. So data was coming in, it was giving weird kind of prediction. So that's one of the use case I see it's a problem. That's when your ML ops strategies comes into play. You, when we go ahead and deploy a model, it's not as strict as DevOps I'm talking about, but you have to inherit some of the good practices of DevOps when we are into this data science, deploying a data science or machine learning models. And eventually every organization will do it. If somebody is not doing it, then it's a problem. So this is one of the takeaway that I would say.
Right. And to add on to, right, like I know like you're deploying an NLP model on cloud, there are a lot of options like your serverless, you have Kubernetes, your other options as well. You can go into that flexible app engine or other services, Lambda and everything, right? In case if you want to know like how NLP models can be deployed, you can actually hit my YouTube channel, and I have a separate playlist for NLP where I show from model development to model deployment on serverless Kubernetes platform on cloud. You can go and check that out. That will maybe help you as well. Or you can message me or just put a comment on this video once it is live, and we will try to answer it. Right. There are other questions as well. Basic. I think we answered this. Are they? If you have specific questions, maybe you can kind of again post in the comment, because with this, if you watch the video, if you're joined late, you can go and check back as well. Some of these are already answered.
Yeah.
Okay. System analyst. I'm just seeing. Okay, there is a question. Talking on fraud detection use case, what is the industry tool adoption for such use case? GraphDB like Neo4j helps, but what are the other industry tool can be employed, recommended over GraphDB? Uh, you want to take Indrajit,
Yeah,
or I can
sure,
also take it
sure,
as well.
sure. So the thing is, most of the organizations right now, they are on threshold-based monitoring on this kind of fraud analytics. Graph is a very powerful tool when it comes to fraud analytics, because if you Google, there is a company who does this only fraud analytics for insurance. What they do is they link there are two entities. They link back the same entity to probably the same house. So that kind of analytics that are doing. So apart from Neo4j, it's not that you really need Neo4j. It makes it very easy when you use Neo4j. There are a lot of innovations that going on in blockchain when it comes to fraud detection and fraud analytics, apart from Neo4j and Graph. Also, there is something using variational autoencoders. You can also detect fraud. So that why how you detect that? See, think about this: that it puts in a encoded space, a latent space from the latent space you are trying to decode it. Now let me give you an example. Let's say I have a stock. I'm giving an example of an organizational fraud. It's a not like individual fraud, an organizational fraud. What happens, let's say the you see ideally the stock price, let's say if I go and put it into a encoder model, it goes to a latent space and try to decode it. When I decode it, is try to reconstruct it, and I see a reconstruction error. Now that should ring you a bell. Why is there a reconstruction error? Is there a change in the behavior? So those kind of things that you can also do. If a if a model approach is a using neo4j, there are thousands of other things that can be done, one of them being variational autoencoders and Bayesian. Also you can go back to Bayesian. There are a lot of Bayesian estimators. There is something called a Bayesian estimator which actually does this similar to graph, so that you can also Google it a little bit on it.
Exactly. And when you talk about the reason about encoders, is the reason we talk about all this is, if you see the real fraud rate, it is not even 0.2% of the entire data. You don't have a lot of fraud instances where you can really like build your robust model. Neo4j is one way of identifying network fraud, because fraud operates in a ring. What they do is bunch of fraudsters come together, they use stolen identity, and then they create a fraud ring, where Neo4j and graph techniques, other graph tools also help. But when we talk about typical transaction modeling and fraud, typically we go into autoencoders, or even we go into a typical tree-based model where we undersample the data, balance it, and use all this stuff. Right? I think like there are a lot of questions coming in. I think we have to. What I can do is I will take these questions and then maybe connect with you
Yes,
as well,
absolutely.
and we can answer it online. We have always been. We have already been like more than an hour on this session. Thank you all. Like really, there are some fantastic questions. I will try to put that in the comment of this chat. A comment of once the video is live, so that you can go and check all the answers and everything. I'll get this answered from Indrajit as well.
Yeah.
And thank you for your time. Thank you very much, and thank you for joining this session. We will try to have more such session in the future where we can connect with industry experts and get it answered. And I'm again sorry I'm not able to answer all the questions, but I will try to get it answered so that you can view it offline. Thank you very much, and thank you, Indrajit, for being with you. It was really a pleasure having you, and talk about your experience and discuss more on your like yeah, industry use cases that you have been developing, the kind of work you have been doing, and also answering the question of all the users over here. Thank you, Indrajit.
Thank you, Srini.
Thank you
Nice
very
to
much,
thank
everyone.
you, everyone. Have a good night and good evening wherever you are.
Thank you.